Joining me now is the senior fellow at Defense Priorities and host of the Daniel Davis YouTube show, retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Thank you so much for being here. A lot to unpack there with that Truth Social post. You know, is it realistic to expect even some hostages to be released by Inauguration Day? You know, is this kind of social media diplomacy an effective way to negotiate their release? I mean, he's getting the message out there, but will it work?
Well, he certainly is getting the message out there. The question is how it's going to be received on the other end. And look, we got to be blunt and sober about this. To get something, you're going to have to give something. Israel has not been willing to give almost anything to the Hamas side who's holding those hostages. So far, they hadn't had any reason to give the hostages over. And for Trump to come in now and say there will be all hell to pay if they don't get it, well, I mean, quite frankly, what more hell could be levied on the Hamas side than has for the past 14 months? So I think that they just roll their eyes on that kind of a threat there, and they're going to hold out those hostages until they get something of value to their side. Otherwise, this horrible situation for those hostages will likely continue.
You know, Elon Musk reportedly spoke to the Israeli president just this week about hostage negotiations. So if you were a family member of one of those hostages, would you be encouraged by this news? You know, is Elon Musk the right man to free terror hostages? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's not that Musk himself is, it's that he has the ear of Donald Trump.
Right.
And so if I'm a family member of those hostages, I will grasp any possible positive hope that they can get them. And listen, I have from the outset been an advocate for doing whatever deal is necessary to get those hostages back. You know, even if it was 20 to 1, 30 to 1 of the Palestinian people who were held in prisoners to be released for these hostages, that would be a great deal for the Israeli side. Anything to get those hostages back is worth it, I think, because the cost to Israel is very low to release some of the prisoners that they have. I mean, honestly, where are they going to go? Into the Gaza Strip, where they're already imprisoned in there and they can't go anywhere. So the risk to Israel is quite low, but the reward for their people is quite high. So I think that a deal can be made as long as there's political will on our side.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And Trump's cabinet picks, I want to ask you about that because this is another hot topic. Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance, they are veterans of the global war on terror. Do you think that Trump's team will be ready to deal with a swiftly tilting world on day one? There's a lot going on here. What will their biggest challenges be as you see it? As you look down the pike, what do you see?
Well, it's a huge difficulty. I mean, I won't go quite so far as to say unprecedented, but pretty close to being the most chaotic and risky environment internationally for any incoming president. Because, I mean, you obviously have the deteriorating war between Russia and Ukraine, which could expand out and could go nuclear in a worst case scenario. You have the ongoing situation with Israel and Hamas and the tenuous ceasefire with Hezbollah, and now then potentially Syria falling apart. And then, of course, there's always the issues in the Indo-Pacific. We still have issues going on with China and the South China Sea, et cetera. So it is a very, very tenuous situation. And I am encouraged by some of the picks that are coming in here because they seem to be sober-minded, you know, especially what J.D. Vance has said, what Tulsi Gabbard has said, that they want a strong America, but they also don't want any unnecessary conflicts. And so I think that these guys may have a better chance to produce a positive outcome for America than the outgoing team.
All right, we are taking a live look right now at President Macron in Paris. He's in France, and we are waiting for President-elect Donald Trump to arrive. It looks like it's about to happen any moment. What do you make of this meeting and how this is going to go?
Well, I think that probably the primary thing that, at least the most important thing, is going to be discussed about what's going to happen in the Russia-Ukraine war, because you've had Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer in recent days have said, hey, maybe we should put some troops into Western Ukraine, you know, in some sort of negotiated deal. And we'll be interested in see what Trump thinks about that. But I mean, I think that's that's like waving a red flag in front of a bull for Russia. I don't think they would ever agree to that. And the fact that these guys are even considering something like that, I think needs to be put on ice pretty quick. So I would hope that Trump would say, yeah, that's not going to happen, because anything that could potentially escalate into a NATO issue with Russia, I think needs to be avoided.
Again, reminding our viewers what we are looking at right now. We are taking a live look in Paris, France, at the home of the French President Emmanuel Macron. And we are waiting for Trump's arrival. There he is, and there's the handshake and the embrace in front of what we would call the French White House. That is the home of Emmanuel Macron. We have been anticipating this meeting, a warm welcome there as the two men shake hands, embrace, put their arms around each other as they walk in under, of course, heavy security. And as we take a look at this, tell me what you think. We talked about some of the talks about Ukraine. What else is on the table here of importance, kind of the top ticket items, if you will?
Well, that's certainly the most important one. But then there's also, a range of just bilateral issues that they'd be dealing with. But I frankly think those things are minor in comparison to the primary issue. I mean, when you're talking about the potential for escalation to war with NATO and Russia or nuclear war, I think that's going to dominate the situation there.
And what about the conversations they will probably have about the war in Israel? How do you see that going?
Yeah, that's the other one. That's the other big issue that the Trump administration is going to have to work out there. And you have this lot of issues with now Amnesty International coming out and saying, look, a lot of the things that Israel has been doing look like genocide, and there are lots of war crimes that have been allocated, and that's hitting a lot of public interest in both France, also in UK, and definitely in the United States, and that has to be balanced off against the geopolitical issues and the long-standing alliance between the two. So you have to find the right balance. You can't just say, yes, you can keep going on and doing these things that are reportedly war crimes with our money and with our bombs, because our national interest also has to be taken into consideration. And it's a thorny issue. It's not an easy one. And I think that's probably one of the things they will be talking about.
And how do you see this meeting potentially impacting arms deals? We've been talking a lot about, we're racking the tape, by the way, showing Trump and Macron greeting each other just moments ago. You watched it here live on NewsNation. But let's talk about how the arms deals, how does that go down in this meeting? Will that come up, you think?
I'm not sure that'll come up in this meeting. I mean, a lot of things will come into focus, and probably at the working level between their aides and their lieutenants that are doing the various things. I'm not sure that arms deals will be very high on the priority list here, and that's all really an ongoing thing all the time, frankly.
Do you see a stronger relationship at this point? Obviously, we see this getting off to a pretty good start. But as this meeting will be one of many moving forward, will the relationship improve? Will this be a stronger relationship this time around between these two?
Well, it certainly can, but the other side of that equation is also kind of tenuous, because there's a move throughout Europe into a more conservative, or some call it right-wing mode. Lots of countries have lost elections. The European Parliament has been moving in that direction, and Macron's position is getting more and more tenuous, frankly, and his public popularity within France continues to drop, and that's going to be an issue that he's going to have to deal with. So you talk about American-French relationships. It could also depend on how their elections go, and whether or not he continued to maintain the support of his people. And a lot of that will have to do on how the Russia-Ukraine thing is negotiated, energy issues, and certainly bilateral trade, et cetera. So there's a lot on the plate, and it's going to be a difficult situation for France.
Well, we'll watch this moving forward. We'll check back in with you, and I know you'll be talking about this on your YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here today. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you.